Welcome back to This Week in Film. It's the weekly podcast where we get together, we talk about the movies we've seen over the past 7 days. I'm Nick Paranto, joined as always by Midwest Matt Lauer. Matt, what's up?
Hey everybody. Not much. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm great. I just got done watching a movie.
That's good for the show.
It is. I actually watched 2 movies this week. I watched one last night and then I watched another one today. So,
what did you watch?
Well, last night I watched The Hateful Eight, which I hadn't seen before.
Aha.
Quentin Tarantino's most recent movie. And then today I watched 47 Meters Down because you watched a shark movie. And
excellent.
And I wanted to watch a shark movie too.
And I have seen 47 Meters Down, so we can spoil the crap out of that.
Oh, have you not seen The Hateful Eight?
I have not seen The Hateful Eight.
Oh, okay. Well, good, because I don't have a whole lot to say about it, honestly. Which is why I had to watch another movie, because I knew I didn't have that much to go with Hateful Eight. Well, since you haven't seen Hateful Eight, let's talk about that, and I won't spoil it. I'll just general impressions kind of thing.
Okay, well, spoiler alert for later in the episode. I'll be talking about the Meg.
Yeah, and you can spoil the hell out of that movie.
All right.
So The Hateful Eight is Quentin Tarantino's latest movie. It stars Samuel L. Jackson, Kurt Russell, and Jennifer Jason Leigh. It takes place in the 1800s in Wyoming in the middle of winter. And this movie was excellent. Like, it was excellent.
Really?
Yeah, which I found surprising because I thought I heard kind of mixed reviews on it.
Yeah.
And the length is crazy long. It's like 3 hours long. And and you know, I just like I heard like that Tarantino's getting out of hand, you know, like he needs somebody to reel him back in, and I was all set to agree because I kind of felt that way about Django Unchained.
Yeah, you could just kind of feel it going in that direction.
Yeah, like where he just needs like someone to say you need to reel it in a little bit. And
yeah, like the kind of people that George Lucas need, but like not quite as badly.
Right. where this movie is very long, but it's deliberately long. Like it's basically a play, and like the whole time I was watching it, I was like, where could they make this shorter? Where could they make this shorter? And I honestly could not really pick anything out other than like minor things that would save a second here or there.
So it doesn't feel like downtime.
No, there is no downtime in it. Like there's a lot of dialogue because it's a Tarantino movie, but the dialogue is very good. It's very interesting. It's character driven, and the whole time you're watching the movie, you're just waiting for something to happen, and then it does, which is great.
Well, can I ask you a question about the dialogue?
Please.
So is it, you know, Tarantino's got a pretty Tarantino, you know, he's got his kind of own flavor of dialogue, and I know he's done, you know, a handful of his movies have taken place in, you know, different time periods. Does any of it feel out of place, or does it all work for like the time setting?
It does. It all works for the time setting.
Okay.
Like it sounds like 1800s cowboy talk, or just like 1800s is kind of talk. Like the way his dialogue flows in the movie, it's very time appropriate. It doesn't feel like you're watching a modern movie that takes place in the 1800s. You feel like you're watching a movie from the past that was like recorded back then.
Okay, that's good to know.
There's a lot of long sentences, and what I mean by that is, like, for instance, Samuel L. Jackson will start talking, and Samuel L. Jackson is also in the movie. I don't know if I said that. And he'll start talking, and like 5 minutes later, he's still talking, and you're like, oh man, this is a lot of dialogue, but it's all really good. It's all really good dialogue, and it's all delivered very well. And and it's hyper violent when it gets violent, and the drama is intense. Like, the movie is very tense from the very beginning. It's very tense, and it feels very cold. Like, while you're watching the movie, you're like, man, it's cold.
Huh.
And yeah, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it. I can understand where some of the mixed reviews come from, because the movie is very long, and and Quentin Tarantino loves the N-word.
Yeah.
I don't know which movie says it more, this or Django. I'm going to say Django probably says it more, but this movie, they say it like every other line. And and it's just crazy. It's a crazy movie.
It can get to be a bit much.
Yeah. But it's never said out of character. Like, the characters that say it constantly are like Southern Confederate rebels.
Mm-hmm.
The movie takes place post Civil War, so there's a lot of that. But the basic plot of the movie, if you don't know, is Kurt Russell is a bounty hunter, and so is Samuel L. Jackson, and they come across each other, and there's a blizzard coming, and Samuel L. Jackson's horse is dead, so he has to get a ride with Kurt Russell. And along the way, they meet up with a third guy. Oh, Kurt Russell is also.
So are they?
Yeah,
sorry, are they friends?
They know each other, but they're not really friends.
Gotcha.
They're not enemies, but they're just kind of.
They sort of know each other professionally.
Yeah, they've met once before. So Kurt Russell is known as the Hangman, and he is captured. What's the woman's name? I just said it.
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Jennifer Jason Leigh, who is as good in this movie as she was in Annihilation.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, but she doesn't have.
Oh man.
She doesn't have very many lines, so it's okay.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you were really pulling me into this movie, like actually interested in watching it. You're losing me quick.
Yeah,
okay.
I did not really care for her until the end. At the end, she gets to be pretty good, but for the most part, you're just kind of like, I'm glad she's not talking.
Okay.
Like you said for Annihilation, where she looks like she's trying to be hard. Like,
yeah.
Like, look how tough I am. It's a lot of that in this movie too. But
sounds like baby's first curse words.
No, she just. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
And so anyway, Kurt Russell has captured her, and he's known as the Hangman. So like, he's a bounty hunter that always takes his captures alive instead of dead. Like, if you're wanted dead or alive, Samuel L. Jackson will take you dead, but Kurt Russell will bring you alive. So he's captured this girl, and he's going to bring her into town. But on the way, there's this big blizzard, and they get snowed in at this cabin. And inside the cabin, there are these 3 other guys. And the drama just kind of grows from that. Like, all these people trapped in one location with bounty hunters, and Kurt Russell knows that somebody's trying to rescue her.
Oh, okay.
So that's where most of the drama comes from. And it's great. I enjoyed every minute of it. I almost wanted to watch it again right away.
I think, honestly, I probably heard a lot of the same stuff you had before you saw it, especially about the time, just how long it is.
Yeah.
But I think this may actually be the first time I actually heard a plot summary. So it helps a little bit in terms of being willing to sit down for 3 hours. Because that was a real turnoff, like Tarantino dialogue and stuff, including his use of the N-word, but also just like, I curse a lot, but like, it's sometimes the movie itself feels like someone trying to be tough.
Yeah.
Like, man, okay, so you discovered the F word the other day and you really like it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this movie too, where people are swearing and it doesn't feel
natural.
Yeah, that's it. and but it's brief. There's brief moments like that. You could tell, like, it might just be like, why did they use that take rather than doing it again?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of swearing, and it gets a little old after a while, but that's his style. So
well, and 3 hours of it sounds a bit excessive.
Yeah.
So I've been really not very interested in actually watching this movie. And after Django, like I didn't care for that movie very much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I thought there were some pretty good performances in it, but yeah, I don't know. Kind of throughout, I think I was mostly with it, and then at the end, I was like, "Wow, this is dumb."
Yeah, the end of Django gets way out of hand.
Yeah, and I think I was a little bit like that with Inglourious Bastards too, where there are a couple things that I was like, this just doesn't fit or work for me in some way. And so anyway, my point is it was not really on my radar, something to want to see, but actually just hearing a bit of the plot makes the idea of like being in the room with these 8 people, worth tolerating the flavors of Tarantino that tend to be in things.
Yeah, it was cool. I don't know if watching it again, because the movie's kind of a mystery movie too. Like, it's a suspenseful mystery. Like, who's trying to save the girl.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you're kind of wondering.
So, like, I wonder if, like, when you watch it again and like the secrets, if it paints a different picture the second time you see it. But but it's great. It's beautifully shot. It was shot in 70 millimeter film, which is like IMAX. Like, it was basically shot in IMAX. And I would have loved to have seen it on like a big screen, like it was originally shot for. Like, that was one of the things about it, is that it could only really be appropriately shown in a few theaters around the country.
Really?
And I would have loved to have seen that, because there's like some stunning vistas, and it just looks so cold. Like, I can't imagine what it was like to have to ride a horse carriage through a blizzard. Like, it just sounds so miserable.
Huh.
Yeah. But
well, I'm interested.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend checking it out. It was tremendous. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Now, I can't remember. Have you seen The Revenant?
I have, yeah. That's another movie where it's just everything seems very, very cold.
That's what I was going to say. If you kind of like having that sort of immersive atmosphere, natural nature atmosphere, kind of thing, contact with the elements. That's a pretty good one too.
Yeah, it's
one where at the end of the movie, I was like, "Wait a minute, that was Tom Hardy? What? Who? Where?
I could see his face the whole time.
That's what he looks like. That's not what I thought."
Yes. I'm bad. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about
the
Hateful Eight. I really didn't have super much to talk about it.
Well, I will have to check that out. The mystery aspect sounds interesting. Being hearing you say like, yeah, it's got Quentin Tarantino's feels, but it's worth it.
I don't think I've seen an Agatha Christie movie, and I've definitely never read one of her books, but I imagine this is what it would be like if Quentin Tarantino made an Agatha Christie book, or an Agatha Christie movie.
Yeah, so you say Agatha Christie, and for whatever reason, maybe it's because it's one of the author names I know, my mind's like, is that like Danielle Steele? I take it Agatha Christie's more of a mystery writer.
Yeah, she's a mystery writer. She wrote Murder on the Orient Express, and
oh, really?
And like a ton of other books that have all been made into movies and remakes of movies. But I haven't seen the new Murder on the Orient Express, but that's the feel that this movie gives me, where you've got a room full of people and he's got to figure out who done it.
So it's like a non-funny version of Clue.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
And there are very surprising twists and turns throughout where you're like, wow, I did not see that coming.
Oh, okay.
And like a couple moments where you're like, wow, that is graphic and awesome.
Well, all right then.
Yeah.
I will say even the best Tarantino movies do sort of have that feel too. Like Reservoir Dogs is one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah,
it's in my top 10. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can finish.
Well, I was just gonna say that it's sorry, my headset's getting itchy. It's there are moments where I'm like, man, the Tarantino is getting where the Tarantino dialogue and feel can get in the way of the Tarantino storytelling,
right?
A bit, but the storytelling tends to kind of burst through enough to go like, damn it, it's still good.
Yeah.
So I'm prepared, I think.
The one complaint I have about the movie is that Michael Madsen's in it.
Oh God, why does he keep casting him and stuff?
I don't know.
He had one good performance once.
Yeah, and it's that one scene in Reservoir Dogs, because the rest of Reservoir Dogs he's terrible.
What? Oh, him.
Yeah, Michael Madsen.
I don't
remember
him really having many other lines in Reservoir Dogs. So maybe that's why he is tolerable.
He's just the worst. He's just the worst actor. And in this movie, it sounds like he's been gargling glass before they started shooting. And he's just like, and you're like, oh God, I hate you.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that guy. Like, not just why does Tarantino cast him and things, but like, why has he had a career? And I mean, he may be a great guy. I don't know, but like, I know it's not just me saying that. That's his reputation is as a bad actor.
Yeah.
So what's the appeal?
I don't know.
Is it just that like someday someone's going to take all of his clips and put them together so that they can somehow create like a movie about Elvis all played by the same guy without having to use age makeup?
Yeah.
Or what?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't understand his appeal. There are some people out there who think he's the best.
No, there aren't.
There are.
Who?
And I don't know.
Who are these people?
Timmy.
Well, give me Timmy's number. I gotta make a call.
But I can't stand him.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that movie Blood Rain?
I think we watched that together.
I think we might have.
That's the vampire video game movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we tried to watch that together. I may have fallen asleep.
I think that movie, those were good times. I'm thinking back to like us buying like a shitload of eggs and biscuits and sitting down and watching bad movies and falling asleep at like 4 a.m. on the couch.
Uh-huh.
But
so many eggs.
That derailed me.
That night I ate 12 eggs.
I wasn't there for that.
No, you were. It was at your house.
No, I wasn't there for it. It was in that era, and I think it brought it to a close because like there was one time that we were hanging out, and you're like, "I don't want eggs tonight. I ate too many eggs. I can never eat eggs again." But that movie, Blood Rain, I have seen clips of it since, and it's taking me back to like, oh yeah, that was the feel of that movie. And I mean, the movie itself's pretty bad. I'm pretty sure it's a Uwe Boll movie. But his performance in that is just the epitome of what he is, which is a lazy bad actor.
His whole thing is, I'm just gonna squint and mumble my line.
Yeah. And that'll be my act.
Yeah. So that's the Hateful Eight. Definite recommend if you've got 3 hours to burn. I'd be interested to see what you have to say about it, especially about like where you could cut dialogue and stuff to to shorten the movie, but I feel like all of the dialogue really works to increase the tension as the movie goes on and on and on. The movie gets more and more tense. Whereas if you had tried to make it shorter, and removed certain parts, it would have, I think, affected the timing and the chemistry of the movie.
Well, I have a prediction, and that is that I will come back to you because I am interested in seeing it now. I'll get around to it. Probably pretty soon too. But my prediction is I will come back to you with a couple things that I go like, hey, well, he could cut this part, or this part, and you'll probably go, yeah, but if he cut that, this thing wouldn't have worked later. And I go, oh, yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going through while I was watching. I was like, well, this could go, but then no, it can't, because then it wouldn't. Then this next part wouldn't work.
Because then later you're like, oh, that's why that was there.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, cool.
And so you watched the, well, let's see. What would you like to talk about? The 47 meters down, or should we save the Meg for last?
Hey man, it's your podcast. You make that call.
Let's save the Meg for last because that's okay. the big draw this weekend.
Yeah, y'all suckers can wait.
So I just got done watching 47 Meters Down, which is a shark movie that stars, it was directed by Johannes Roberts, who also wrote the movie with Ernest Riera, and it stars Mandy Moore, Claire Holt, and Matthew Modine. And this
really got that Ernest Riera feel.
Ernest Riera, known primarily for 47 Meters Down.
It's got exactly his feel.
So this movie is about these two sisters are on vacation in Mexico, I'm guessing, and they decide to go scuba diving in a shark cage. And while they're in the shark cage, the cable that's holding the shark cage snaps, and they fall 47 meters down into the water. And it's a race against time for them to not run out of air and to escape the sharks that are trying to eat them. This movie was terrible. But what's really crazy is that up until they get into the shark cage, it was a good movie.
like all the opposite of well, no, it was bad in The Shallows once the shark showed up too. But
yeah,
but where like the setting and sort of personal drama stuff in The Shallows, you're like, you don't need this at all. Here you're saying like it's the highlight,
right? Like this movie, first off, doesn't need the sharks. Doesn't need the sharks at all. And then like the movie starts off with Mandy Moore and her sister. One of them is named Lisa and the other one is named Kate. And I don't know, like I can look at the list right now. Mandy Moore is Lisa. They say their names 1,000 times in the movie and I still couldn't figure out who is who. But,
well, let me ask you a quick question on that. Did you know which one was Mandy Moore?
Yeah, Mandy Moore. I know Mandy Moore. Not personally, but.
Okay, so I'm going to take a moment to address the phenomenon that is Mandy Moore. I have no idea who this girl is. Like, I know she was a singer at some point, I think, and then she's an actress. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen her in other things. I saw her in a movie called Saved, which was her, Macaulay Culkin, and some people, and it's sort of a critical commentary on like born again Jesus stuff.
Yeah, I heard that's supposed to be pretty good.
I remember it being pretty funny, and I knew who she was. Like as watching the movie, I'm like, okay, this blonde girl is Mandy Moore. I'm not sure I knew any of her music or anything.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm watching this movie, 47 Meters Down, and I know I've had this experience before when she's been in something too. And I'm at the end of the movie, I'm like, well, where was Mandy Moore? And I just didn't recognize her.
Uh-huh.
And in this movie, like actively, I'm like, there are two girls in this movie. Come on now, this should be easy. Which one's Mandy Moore? And I had no idea. Like I was just like, either she really vanishes into characters, or she has a face that can just be painted to look like other faces, or what? Or it's just me, and I'm gathering right now that no, it's just me. So you know which one was her.
Yeah, she's the dark-haired one.
Okay.
There's a blonde and the dark-haired one, and Mandy Moore is the dark-haired one. So,
Okie dokie.
So the movie starts off with Mandy Moore and her sister. They're on vacation in Mexico, and they're having a good time. But Mandy Moore is very upset secretly because her boyfriend has left her, and because she's boring apparently, and she's very upset about that. So the sister says, "Well, let's go scuba diving with these guys we just met. They know where great white sharks are." Which I question, because there aren't great white sharks around Mexico, aren't they? They're like around colder water.
I think they're actually kind of anywhere. You're right in terms of preference. They do prefer colder water.
Uh-huh.
But I think they actually, I'm not sure if they migrate, but I think they actually do kind of cover all the ocean.
Oh, all right then. Well, then I'll give that a pass. So they go scuba diving, or they decide to go scuba diving, and Mandy Moore's like, "I've never been scuba diving before," and her sister's like, "Don't worry, it's easy." And so they decide to go. And up until this point, the movie is very compelling. You're like, okay, I'm interested to see where this is going. And then they get into the water, and you're like, oh, it's stupid. This is stupid now. Yeah. What did you think of the movie?
Well, I saw it after The Shallows, which I guess you did too.
Yeah.
And maybe it's some of what you're pointing out that actually made it seem a bit better to me too. Is that I wasn't annoyed by the time spent getting to the shark stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, okay, I don't hate these people. Whereas in The Shallows, I'm like, oh god, just get to it already. This is dumb, and this woman's not a good actor. So I'm hesitant to say I liked it, because it is a pretty dumb movie. I also was doing other things while I was watching it. I think I had it on while I was like catching up on some notes and like putting in like financial stuff into an online program.
Uh-huh.
So it might be a bit better if you've got a task to do while you're watching it. I remember there's sort of a false ending.
Yeah. Yeah. Which really only feels like it could exist because the movie was going to end at like 84 minutes and they needed it to be 3 minutes longer.
No, I think I don't remember exactly what happened, and when you tell me, because you just saw it, yeah. I'm like, yeah, that is stupid. But in hindsight, having had a few, maybe like 6 months between watching it and now, I think I kind of was okay with that. Like, oh, all right, she's kind of her oxygen was low or something. So
yeah.
Like, okay, so she thought she got out and she didn't. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, spoiler alert for the rest of the podcast. But so the movie ends with her rescuing her sister from the sharks, and they swim to the surface where they get attacked over and over again by great white sharks, where their bodies get like ripped apart almost. And then they get on the boat, and while they're on the boat, they're like trying to patch up their wounds, and and Mandy Moore's like, "Oh, my hand looks so funky. Oh, your voice. And then you realize that she's been hallucinating, and she like imagined the entire thing, and she's still just stuck at the bottom of the ocean, and her sister is just gone at this point. Like, I guess you're just to assume that she's dead.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, this is a totally different ending that this movie didn't need. It's like
I think I just like grim stuff, because I think I was like, when she saved her, I was like, this is kind of dumb. And then when it's like, no, she's screwed, it's like, oh, okay.
Well, like they get back on the boat in the hallucination. They get it back on the boat, and their bodies are all torn up with these gnarly shark wounds. and they're like bleeding out on the boat. I was like, oh man, this is graphic. Because at one point, like while they're getting pulled into the boat, a great white shark jumps up and grabs Mandy Moore by the leg and pulls her back into the ocean. And I was like, that's awesome. And then she like escapes by like gouging the shark's eyes out and stuff. And she gets back on the boat, and then she realizes that she's hallucinating, and it cuts back to her under the water again. And you realize that the last 15 minutes of the movie was just her imagination.
I guess I didn't have too much of a problem with that. Does she just die at the bottom of the ocean then?
No, the Coast Guard rescues her. It seems like she's about to die, like, because the camera starts pulling away from her, and it like comes out of the cage, and it's like getting further away, and she's just sitting there laughing. And but then you see the Coast Guard flashlights, and then they show them like pulling her out of the water. But they don't ever show the sister again. So I guess it implies that the sister just is dead. But yeah, it was dumb. It was dumb.
Well, at least they came full circle though, because it started out with her at the beginning of the movie being boring.
Right.
And now she's got a good story.
And now she's the most exciting person in the world.
It's not boring anymore.
Right.
She's just traumatized. That's
right.
all.
Now her boyfriend will take her back because she went swimming.
And they all lived happily ever after.
Except for the sister and the one guy who comes down to save them.
Yeah, well, that guy doesn't count.
The sharks were really unnecessary in this movie. It could have just been a story about these two girls trapped underwater with limited air, and how they're going to try to get out. But the sharks, because the sharks are, I'm going to say shark about 1,000 times. The sharks they just show up whenever it's convenient to the story. Like at one point the shark tries to smash its way through the cage, and it's bending steel with its face. And I'm like, sharks aren't indestructible animals. Like, they still have skin and stuff. And like at one point they're swimming, they're looking for something, and Mandy Moore goes and hides inside this cave. It might have been Mandy Moore or the sister. I'm just going to refer to Mandy Moore. And she's like hiding inside a cave, and the shark just smashes its way through with its face. Like, it smashes its way through a stone wall to try and get to her. And of course it can't reach her because she's the star of the movie. But like, sharks aren't indestructible killing machines. They are killing machines, but like they aren't super powered. Like they'll go away.
I feel like I've seen some videos of them wreaking some havoc on some of those shark cages, but yeah, I think generally speaking,
I've seen those too, where like they're able to get like a good bite on it. But this is like, in this movie, the shark's head is like pushing through the cage, and the cage is bending around it. And this is like an old rusty steel cage. Like, there's just no way. And so like the realism of the movie goes right out the window. And then one of the things that they can't do is they can't swim to the surface real fast because they'll get the bends. And I went scuba diving one time. You were there. And
sort of.
and the only rule is you just can't go up faster than your bubbles do. And the bends doesn't mean you get bubbles in your brain and you'll die. It means like the nitrogen, what it means is like, if you come up too fast, the nitrogen that's in your blood will expand faster than your body can get rid of it, and it can hurt your body real bad. But it doesn't mean you'll die. And in this movie, Matthew Modine, who is in the movie inexplicably, like, he must have just been on vacation while they were filming this movie, and they were like, hey, you want to be in this movie? And he was like, sure. And
he just wanted to meet Mandy Moore.
Yeah, I don't blame him. And so like in this movie, they just keep saying, if you get the bends, you die. The nitrogen in your brain will kill you instantly. So they're like trying to swim to the surface, and they have to keep stopping while all these sharks are around them. And I'm like, why would you stop? Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna risk the bends or this definite death of a shark biting you in the face.
I think there's well, I mean, in a shark movie, there's a guarantee the shark's going to attack you. But in real life, I think the likelihood of being attacked by a shark is pretty low.
Yeah.
But I actually, they might overdo the whole bends thing. But I will say it is frustrating for me in other movies where they ignore it, like where people grab onto a tank of air and then just knock off the top and shoot to the surface like a bullet.
Is that Jaws?
Yay,
is that Jaws 4 that happens?
I think that's one of, yes, I'm pretty sure it does happen in that movie.
Because the guy's trapped at the bottom at the bottom of a boat or something, and he's trying to get away from Jaws.
Oh yeah, he's in a shipwreck, and Jaws is sneaking through the chambers or whatever of the shipwreck with its fins that can't even fit through the doorway and stuff. God, what a terrible movie.
We should do a commentary track on that movie.
We could, but good Lord, there'd be so much. We just have to, a lot of us just talking about random other stuff because there's just so much of that movie where nothing's happening.
Yeah.
And then there's Michael Caine. And I don't know if you've heard the story or not, but people have asked him, have you ever watched Jaws the Revenge? And he's like, I've never seen it, but I've seen the house that it bought.
Yeah, I have heard that. Yeah. One thing 47 Meters Down, I think, had an opportunity to do, but it chose not to, was to show, and I have a word for it, was to show and demonstrate the thalassophobia of the ocean, which I'm not even saying this right. Thalassophobia is, I think, the fear of the unknown of the ocean.
Okay.
And this movie could have shown, it spends a lot of time on extreme close-ups of Mandy Moore's face, which is obscured by her diving mask. And rather than showing the wide shots of the ocean, here's how really alone you are and how big the ocean really is and how many terrible things could be hiding in it, here's just Mandy Moore's face instead. And I feel like that was a real missed opportunity to add some atmosphere to the movie.
Well, if that's something you're looking for, then I would increase the intensity of my recommendation that you watch Open Water.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the one
Absolutely.
That's one I haven't seen yet either.
Mm-hmm. It's of all the ones we've discussed, it is the best. I mean, other than Jaws.
Okay.
And if it's really gonna get you in the seat, and I know it will, there's some full frontal of a pretty attractive woman.
Oh, okay. Well,
there you go.
Well,
so look forward to next week where Nick reviews Open Water.
So yeah, that's really all I have to say about Open Water. Do you have anything? Not Open Water. 47 Meters Down. Do you have anything you'd like to add about it?
No, I don't remember enough to be able to really add anything further.
Yeah, all right. Well, then that brings us to The Meg.
Cool. All right.
I'm so excited to hear about it.
Okay, so The Meg is a big summer blockbuster with Jason Statham, Ruby Rose, Rainn Wilson, Bing Bing Lee, Mesa Oka, and if I'm messing up any of these names, I really apologize, and Winston Cho. And I believe Chinese names you're hearing here are actually really famous actors in China, if the information I have is correct. And you can definitely feel that this movie is made for an international audience.
Yeah.
And I've heard people complain about that with this and with other things. I really don't mind it. It's actually kind of interesting because there were a couple times during the movie that some sort of like maybe dramatic moments, and don't get me wrong, this wasn't like pulling at my heartstrings, but that some of these moments got more time than you would kind of expect, or like it seems like if you're used to the pace of a regular American sci-fi movie, or kind of summer action movie, rather, it gets changed for you. And I kind of noticed that a few times where I'm like, wait, something here seems a little bit, I don't know, different. And I'd catch it and you're like, oh, you know what, this moment's getting more time than I would have, unconsciously kind of expected it to. And then figured out like, oh, this is giving these actors a little bit more time on screen, and a little bit of the spotlight. And I actually thought it was kind of cool. It just sort of shook things up a little bit. Now, that does not mean that I'm saying this movie was a creative marvel or anything like that. It's not. But the plot is this. And actually, I'm going to throw in a little bit more trivia here. This movie had like $150 million budget.
Wow.
And I don't know if this is adjusted for inflation or not, but that is the highest budget for a shark movie ever.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure you can feel the budget.
Really?
Yeah. I don't understand quite what was quite so expensive. I mean, Jason Statham kind of walks the boundary between real movies and then like B movies. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And that's no criticism of him. I think Jason Statham's great. I think he's perfect for exactly what he is. And I actually also think, I don't know why I think this, but I think he's an awesome guy. I think I've heard him make some comments here and there on like his relationship with his wife, and he sounds like he's just got a lot of integrity.
Uh-huh.
So I'm all about Jason Statham.
Right.
But he's not expensive, as far as I know. He's not a super expensive actor. And I don't know, maybe the Chinese actors are, but here's my point. It's not in the special effects.
Okay.
There are some spots where things are like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And there are enough like structures involved, that they probably had to build some pretty big sets. But there's a lot of CGI and it's not exactly impressive. So, I mean, one of the first things you see is a whale, and you're like, "Wow, that's a cartoon-ass whale." What's the deal here? We're in 2018, and this is looking like Lake Placid level special effects.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, just not all great. But anyway, so the plot of the movie is that, and you said you're cool with me spoiling stuff?
Spoil away.
All right. Spoiler alert. I'm going to spoil.
So yeah, what's the plot of the movie? Yeah.
Yeah, well, and for what it's worth, I don't think this is the sort of movie where spoilers actually would impact your experience of the movie at all. There aren't exactly twists and turns.
Right.
So the plot is that some rich guy, your John Hammond of the movie, played by Rainn Wilson, who, I don't know, he wasn't necessary to be in this. I don't have anything against the guy, but I don't think he's putting people in the seats. And I don't know. I kind of got the impression. I kind of got the impression that he just was like, yeah, this would be if I haven't played a twirly mustache guy. That'll be fun. Mm-hmm. He is funding this like underwater science lab thing, and the people there doing the research have discovered that the Marianas Trench is like, it's deeper than we think, and that there's like a level of, I don't know, I want to say nitrogen or something that makes it look like it's the floor, but there's actually something beneath that. Okay. And it's sort of like a sheet of gas that keeps warm temperature water underneath it and colder water above it. And so the things that live down there haven't come to the surface because there's this huge layer of cold water that they don't want to go through.
Right.
It's kind of ridiculous. So they sort of puncture this layer of stuff by going down there. Some people get attacked, and then Jason Statham and some other people. And Jason Statham once was down there and thought he saw or experienced a megalodon.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of how the movie starts. And I'm not quite sure, like, where, like, it seems clear that he concluded that it was a megalodon that was causing the issues that were going on, but I'm not quite sure why. I don't think he actually sees anything. So it's a little strange to be like, something was attacking us. It must be a giant prehistoric shark.
Yeah.
Which, that's what a megalodon is for anyone who doesn't know.
Okay. That was my
next
question.
Huh?
That was my next question.
Okay. So there's, like, megalodon and, like, big squids and stuff like that down there. Anyway, they puncture this thing. It comes out. They go down and save some people, a little rescue mission. And the pacing of it's a little strange because it's almost like there's a whole movie at the beginning. And then there's kind of not an act 2, but then act 3 is very long. Or at least that's how it felt to me. The movie is too long. It's I think it's an hour and 50 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't need to be. Like I said, I don't mind the moments where things slow down a little bit to give characters a little more space to have a moment. And part of that's that they're good actors. This movie's actually... It's so much more well cast than you might expect. Like the Rainn Wilson thing, I think you can kind of take or leave. But as I was watching, I was like, you know what? This kind of has a lot of the characters from another shark movie we're familiar with, Deep Blue Sea.
Oh.
But they're not annoying. Like, oh, this is what it's like when they pick the right people for these things. So I don't know. To me, it really worked. There's even a little girl. And I don't know about you, but usually when I'm watching an action movie or a horror movie and there's a little kid, I'm like, oh, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
No. This one's adorable. And there are a couple lines she delivers where you're like, okay, that was a kid actor delivering a kid actor line. But there are some others where she's like kind of a smartass. And she's like 8. So it's not like a, annoying 14-year-old smartass who's just... I don't know. It's not the kid from Jurassic World. It's actually this cute little girl who's just really smart, and so she can make some comments, and you're like, oh, that's pretty funny. And she and Jason Statham are adorable together. I'm like, I hope he adopts her. Although I'm sure she has parents. But anyway, the tone of the movie, it knows what it is. It's totally got its tongue like firmly planted in its cheek, and maybe that's one reason it was cast as well as it was too. Is just because it really is aware of what it is and what it's doing. I will say though, it seems like there are some times where it didn't really know who it's for. And it was kind of indicated by the previews. Like I was watching the previews and like there was a preview for like a straight up kids movie. There was a couple previews for like horror movies, and then there was some preview for this really like Magnolia like romantic drama thing.
Really?
And I'm like, what is going on here? I'm here for a prehistoric shark movie. Why am I seeing a preview for Magnolia 2? But I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on there. But the movie itself has some moments like that too, where even though the acting was good, some of those drama moments are also, while they're good, they're a little out of place. So it's like, man, this just got pretty dark and heavy. All right. There's the sad music going on. These people are looking in each other's eyes. Maybe one of them's dying. I don't want to give too much away. And you're like, huh, all right then. well, that's an interesting tone. When then, like 2 minutes later, Rainn Wilson's like, "Let's go hunt a shark," you know? And that's not quite right. But anyway, it's fun. It's dumb. It's really, really silly at some points. Like while this whole thing is like, yeah, man, we finally got to the bottom of the ocean. During the rescue thing, getting to the bottom of the ocean takes like 40 seconds. They're like, oh, we got to go down there. Cool. Be there in a minute. Like, all right, then.
So, like, what?
Go ahead.
Like, what happens in the movie? Like, you say it starts off with them finding the Marianas Trench is deeper than they thought, and there's prehistoric monsters that live inside it. Like, how do they come to the surface?
Oh, well, well, this is pretty dumb. Like, as they're bringing up, I think it's like as they're bringing up the rescued people, some of the, it's like they put a hole in the underwater ozone layer, and so this hot water rushes out of it and the shark goes up with it.
Oh.
Like, yay, I'm finally free. I'm going to get to the surface riding this geyser of warm water. And so gets to the surface, starts attacking the research facility, and then at some point goes, hey, I'm going to head for other things to eat, like land. And I mean, not that it eats the land, but like,
how big is
people.
The shark? Do they say how big it is?
I think at some point they probably do, and I think they exaggerate things, because like a real megalodon, I think they were like 50 feet long.
Uh-huh.
This thing's like, I don't know, 100 feet, or in some scenes like 300 feet long. It's ridiculous, and it's all over the place. Because
in 47 meters down, the sharks were like 20 feet long.
Yeah, and that's a great white shark can be 20 feet long.
Yeah,
it's on the bigger side, but that's reasonable. This thing is, it should be huge, but they like super huge-ify it. And some of that I think is, they're really big sharks and they want to have some fun with that. But I think some of that also allows them to keep the movie PG-13.
Yeah.
Which I think it unfortunately is. It could be a bit more fun if it was R. There could be, with it being such a joke movie, it could have fun with like gore and stuff, but they're going for that PG-13, get as much money as you can kind of thing.
Right.
And when a shark is, the size of 5 houses, it can just swallow people whole and there's no blood.
Right.
So I don't know that there's probably some blood somewhere in the movie. But if you were to say, actually, I checked and there's not a single scene where there's any blood, I wouldn't be too surprised. So I'd say overall it's funny, it's charming, it's definitely dumb, but it knows it's dumb. The characters, like I'm looking forward to you seeing it at some point, because I'm kind of expecting you to go, yeah, it's right that the characters should be annoying, but they cast it so well that they're not. Like they're pretty much all likable, and that's, I guess, but it is long. It's longer than it needs to be. It's longer than it deserves to be.
How does Jason Statham stop the shark?
Well, this is probably the only plot twist. So, listeners who don't want anything ruined, plug your ears for 10 seconds. There are 2 sharks.
What?
Yeah. So it is kind of like, was that Lake Placid where there were 2 for a moment?
I don't remember.
They're like, there's another one, and he's like, and then one guy just shoots one. He's like, now we're down back to 1, and it's like, well, that was dumb.
I don't remember that at all.
And this is another reason that the size thing kind of goes all over the place, because it's like, that doesn't seem as big as it should be. And then there's another bigger one that comes up and eats the first one practically whole.
Oh, gianter shark eats the giant shark.
Yeah. Well, and that's another dumb thing, kind of like getting to the bottom of the ocean, like takes 30 seconds. They're also like, it's eating boats. Well, we're going to go chase it in a boat. And it's not even like an extremely large boat or anything. It's like, what makes your boat any safer? So how do they kill it? Huh. That's a good question. I know they poison it, but I think that's the first one. So they poison the first one.
Oh, do they poison the first shark, and that shark is full of poison, and the bigger shark eats the poison shark?
No. I mean, it does eat it, but it doesn't. Oh, man. Okay, so I know there's a point at which... So Bing Bing Lee uses her submarine to kind of cut the shark. Like she dives underneath it, and the submarine sort of has a fin, and so she like scrapes it along the bottom of it, and it sort of cuts a big cut down its body. Jason Statham is, I think, riding the shark at some point and stabs it in the eye. I think he stabs it in the eye with a spear gun, but just like rams it in its eye. And I think that might be the killing stroke. Like I think they wanted to balance things out so that both of the characters, Bing Bing Lee and Jason Statham, kill it together. Because they're supposed to have some sort of like kind of romantic chemistry, which I think actually works. It's not well written, but I think the actors are. It's another charm movie. This is a Wonder Woman underwater,
right? Okay.
And so it's don't get me wrong. I should not say that because it is not that charming. But they're likable. They're cute. They're cute together when they're interacting. It doesn't necessarily seem romantic. It's written to be romantic, but their chemistry is just more like, I don't know. Like if they were to do a project together, I could see them having a lot of fun. And anyway, so I think there's something there between wanting this, major star from China and a major star from America, both having equal play in things. And it's really good throughout the movie too. Like there's no like sort of damsel in distress stuff. They make it pretty clear that this woman's capable. And it plays out well. And it plays out well between the two of them. And so when it's time to take down the shark, it's not the most exciting shark takedown, but it works as far as like that kind of balance goes. So I think that's the end of it. I think once so he rams it in the eye after she's cut it open, and there's all this shark blood in the water. So this giant shark, and of course it's like jumping out of the water when he stabs it in the eye, it lands back in the water. And 1 million normal sharks come and eat it.
Really?
Yeah. Because there are, at any point in time, they're like spiders. At any point in time, you're less than like 6 feet from a shark.
Right.
And so all the thousands of sharks that are right there just swarm to it.
How does Jason Statham get away? Because he was riding the shark.
Well, one shark tries to swim at him, but then Bing Bing Lee smashes into it with her little submarine, and then he gets a ride on the submarine back to safety.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like an exciting adventure.
It is too long, so there are some moments where you'd be like, all right, well, let's move along. But it's fun. It's fun.
Okay. So
I would recommend it to most people.
The Meg.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the show's getting a little long, Matt. I know we wanted to try to play movie versus movie.
Well, didn't we need to change the name?
Oh, Jill says we'll
do
change
that. We'll
the
do
name.
That next time.
Listeners, if you have a better name for us for our Batman versus movie, Dawn of Movie, please feel free to tell us. Contact us on the Facebook or the Twitters or the Instagram.
Try this one out. See if she likes this. Jill versus movie, Dawn of Jill.
Yeah, okay. And if you have a suggestion for us to pit two movies against each other, if you haven't listened to the game show that we played before, we put two movies against each other. Like what was another one we did? We did Ocean's 11 versus Fight Club, which is the better movie. And I chose Fight Club, and I think you went with Ocean's 11, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some good ones. Tombstone versus 310 to Yuma.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you have a suggestion for us to play, let us know. Get in touch with us.
Yeah. And the rules in terms of these things going against each other is very loose. It's just they have some thread connecting them, whether it's a genre of movie or an actor that's in the movie or director, whatever.
Also, if you haven't done it yet, write us a review on iTunes. If you're listening to us on iTunes, go ahead and write us a review. It would really help us out. Matt, anything to plug?
For those of you who are political and are kind of watching what's going on with, our current administration, all that sort of stuff, there's a show called Trump Inc. that I started listening to a while ago, podcast, and it's pretty interesting. It goes into, it's sort of doing the background stuff on our president, like how the Trump organization has worked and what it's been involved in up to this point. It's a neat show. It's pretty well put together. So I'd say check that out if that sort of thing interests you.
Okay. And I want to say check out Movies in the AM, Matt V's new podcast. Check that out on iTunes. I know it's at least on iTunes. I don't know about anywhere else. And I think that'll about wrap things up for us this week. You have anything else, Matt?
No, that's it.
All right, yeah, that's all I got too. So if that's the end of the reel, we'll see you next week in film.
See you then.